images of the houses, the bodies, the scenes. I can never erase them.
8 members of the same family executed. The biggest murder mystery in Ohio history.
They did this quickly, coldly, calmly, and very carefully. But not carefully enough.
Tonight, the big break.
The people who did it are in custody.
6 arrested. And a message for the loved ones of those silenced forever.
It's a great day. Justice is here.
It has been our job to find the truth. We have done that.
Fox 19 now begins with breaking news.
Yet the story continues to break. After more than 2 years, arrests have been made and a motive revealed in the execution-style deaths of these 8 family members. Attorney General Mike DeWine tells us all of 8 murders are connected to this little girl, Sophia Wagner. She is now 5 years old and the daughter of one of the victims, Hannah Rhoden, and one of the suspects, Jake Wagner. We broke this story of the arrests and had crews out the scene since very early this morning. Our Tricia Mackey is live in Pike County, where we learned all the newest information about these murders.
Rob, it has been a long day, but a lot of information uncovered at a press conference here at the Pike County Sheriff's Office earlier this afternoon. Attorney General and Governor-elect Mike DeWine talked for about 2 hours, laying out his case in this very long, drawn-out 2.5 years to get to where we are today. Right now, 6 people, as you said, they're facing charges in connection to the case. 4 people, these 4 people are facing murder charges. George Billy Wagner III, Angela Wagner, George Wagner IV, and Edward Jake Wagner. All of them face the death penalty if convicted. Now, there were 2 other people arrested. This is kind of where it gets weird. Frederica Wagner, who is Billy Wagner's mom, and Rita Newcomb, who is Angela Wagner's mom. They are charged with covering up those murders.
The custody of that young child plays a role in this case. We believe that the Wagners conspired together to develop an elaborate plan to kill the 8 victims under the cover of darkness and then carefully cover up their tracks. We believe the evidence will show that the suspects spent months planning the crimes. They studied the victims' habits and their routines. They knew the layouts of their homes. They knew where they slept.
You know what, if you listen to those words that he was saying, this is almost like a stalking case. This family knew everything about the deceased family's whereabouts, their routine, where they slept. And DeWine also says this rocky relationship stemmed from a custody battle. He said, when all of the details come out, you are going to be amazed, because at the center of all of this is a 3-year-old at the time of the murders. Wagner's motive to hatch this elaborate murder plot. I was thinking that we were going to have I thought we were going to have some sound right there, more with Mike DeWine, who talked about the cold calculation of these murders. And also, Fox 19's Stefano DP Trantonio was first on this case very early in the morning when the first of those arrests were made. And Rob, these arrests were made in all different parts of the area. One was in Lexington, 2 were at a home, 1 was on a routine traffic stop. And we, of course, have live team coverage. And since we're about 2 hours kind of east of downtown Cincinnati, this is where Pike County is, we have our crews all over the place. So Ken Brown is in Lexington, and that is where Bill Wagner was taken into custody. But we also want to start off with Maytal Levy, who is live near where I am with how the community is responding to this big news. Maytal?
spoke with some Rhoden family members who tell me that they're still processing what's happening, but now all eyes will be here at the Pike County Courthouse. This is where arraignments for the Wagner family suspects are expected to take place. Tonight I spoke with several community members who are feeling a sense of relief now that the alleged killers are behind bars.
Now I can go back to living day to day.
Waverly High School senior Cade McClellan feels like a black cloud lingering over Pike County has been lifted.
We're all relieved. We're all super happy. At first, it was just a horrible event. We were all scared, and then we're just all relieved.
6 members of the Wagner family have been arrested in connection to the killings of 8 members of the Rhoden family.
Now that sense of pressure is gone.
Investigators say the Rhodens and Wagners were family friends. Hannah Mae Rhoden, one of the family members who was murdered, had a baby with Edward Jake Wagner, who is in jail tonight. Attorney General Mike DeWine saying a custody battle over their baby is at the center of this case.
When something that major happens in like a small city like we live in, actually a village, it throws everyone off storm. You know, you see that stuff on the news, but you never think it will happen.
Brandy Bowles moved to Pike County about a year ago for her husband's job. She says before they relocated, they had a conversation about safety concerns in the wake of the Rhoden family massacre.
You just never know what's going to happen. So, and we have a 14-year-old child that lives here in town, you know, goes to school, and you never, you know, what if something happens there?
Theories about the 2016 murders pointing blame at the Mexican cartel. Bowles says even though arrests have been made, people still have other ideas about what happened the night the Rhodens were killed.
I don't think it'll ever be closed.
You don't?
No.
How come?
Just emotions. You know, everybody's just, you know, got their own head spinning about everything.
McClellan is looking ahead, hoping his community can heal as justice is served.
Usually chill, you know, usually not much crime activity, not a big scenery. You're never on the news. So like to finally, like, it's just so sad that when you see that happen, like that tragedy happen, like you don't know how, like, it's like a reality check.
Arraignment dates have not yet been set. We'll, of course, keep you posted on that. For now, Tricia, back to you. When you think about that, in one night, 8 members of the same family just wiped off the face of the earth that quickly with cold, calculated stalking and murders of those victims in separate homes in the middle of the night. All of the 8 victims, as you see, if we could put them up on the screen right now for you to look at, all 4 shot in separate homes, all shot to death in the middle of the night, execution style. And while most of those arrested are being held in Ohio jails, the father, his name is George Billy Wagner III, he's awaiting extradition in a hearing in Lexington, Kentucky, where he was arrested today. Ken Brown is standing by live with more details on that. Ken?
Yeah, that's right, Tricia. Wagner was actually followed into Kentucky by a couple of different Ohio law enforcement agencies where he was taken into custody without incident, and he's currently being held at the Corrections Center here just outside of downtown Lexington. The man standing a head taller than every officer around him will soon be headed to jail after George Billy Wagner and 3 members of his family have been charged with 8 counts of aggravated murder.
Several of my units and some BCI agents basically followed him where he arrived in Kentucky, and we reached out to the Fayette County, Kentucky Sheriff's Office, and they assisted in that stop where he was apprehended without incident.
Wagner's indictment paperwork is 13 pages long and outlines 22 charges he now faces. Those records accuse Wagner of everything from the murders themselves to Wagner running surveillance on the Rhodens' property leading up to their murders, and even the purchase of materials to build silencers for weapons. Wagner was well out of Pike County when police put him in cuffs, driving that signature Flying W Farms horse trailer.
I have no idea. The only thing I know he was doing in Kentucky was being arrested. I don't know why he went to Kentucky.
Wagner's horse trailer appears to be leaving the Rhoden Equine Hospital. Although unconfirmed, his reason for being at that spot with a horse trailer seems self-explanatory. Lexington's Metro Police Department made the arrest. They got the call to assist at about 12:15 and had Wagner in cuffs and headed to jail about a half an hour later. So jailers here at the Community Corrections Facility in Lexington have confirmed that Wagner will be in court Wednesday, 1 in the afternoon. That's when he appears in Fayette County District Court. That should start the ball rolling on his extradition process back to Ohio, where Butler County Sheriff Richard Jones has a cell waiting for him. We're reporting live in Lexington tonight. Ken Brown, Fox 19 Now.
Ken, thanks. And here in Pike County, there is still plenty more to this story. Rob, also, we have not heard yet from the prosecutor. He had a lot to say also from the sheriff. And then I want to talk a little bit more about Stefano DiPietrantonio being here in the wee hours of the morning and what he saw, because that's a really interesting story as well. So plenty more from Pike County yet to come in this hour.
All right, Tricia, we look forward to that. More as we cover that huge story. We've been on it all day, but we're going to have it during our 10 o'clock hour and more live reporting during our 11 o'clock half hour, so keep it right here. In the meantime, though, we know weather's super important, especially with the weather we've been getting around here. Let's send it over to the chief meteorologist, Steve Horstmeyer. Ashley said we were between two storms right now.
Absolutely, and tomorrow morning it's going to start off cold, but no precipitation. You can see the cloud cover trying to clear out here. Long streak of cloud cover. The subtropical jet's going to bring energy, moisture, and it's going to bring problems to the tri-state. Mostly clear for your kids at 7 a.m. Temperatures around 23. Winds are very light, so not much in the way of a wind chill. Watch what happens 12 hours after that. By 7 p.m. tomorrow, not much going on, but here comes that surge of moisture along with a little bit of a mix of rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow. We'll talk about what it's going to do and how much we're going to get when I come back.
Without question, this has been by far the longest, most complex, and labor-intensive investigation the Ohio Attorney General's office has ever undertaken. It's been the most sophisticated, the biggest operation BCI has ever undertaken. Our investigators, our analysts have lived this case, have lived it. It has been all-consuming for them.
We're learning more tonight on just how much investigators have uncovered in this case since 8 members of the Rhoden family were shot and killed more than 2 years ago. We'll break down the timeline. In other news tonight, we're learning more about the Allen family, their latest tragedy involving another son. We're going to have that for you, too. Then a brawl inside a McDonald's over missing ketchup.
Members of one family conspired, planned, carried out, and then allegedly covered up their violent act to wipe out members of another family. They did this quickly, coldly, calmly, and very carefully, but not carefully enough.
Yeah, on April 22nd in 2016, Christopher Rhoden Sr., the family patriarch, he was shot 9 times in the head, torso, and arm. And then more victims were found. Frankie, Dana, Gary, Hannah, Kenneth, and Christopher Rhoden, who was only 16, along with Hannah Gilley, a Rhoden fiancée, were all found shot in the head between 2 and 5 times. That's Dana Rhoden, her body discovered by a sister. That's Clarence Frankie Rhoden. He was a son. There's Gary Rhoden. Also, Hannah Rhoden, she's the young lady we pointed out earlier, who has a 5-year-old daughter with a member of the family who's suspected in killing them. And this is Christopher Rhoden Jr., who was only 16 years old at the time. And Hannah Gilley was a fiancée of one of the Rhoden men. Investigators revealed much more information on the Pike County murder case today. Prosecutors have been digging up information for 2 years before the 4 suspects were arrested today, 4 members of one family. Tricia Mackey is live in Pike County with a look at that timeline.
Again, Rob, you just talked about all of the victims' names and who they were, all found dead April 22nd, 2016. There was a toddler and 2 babies spared. And Rob, for 2.5 years, conspiracy theories have flown all over the place. Was this the drug cartel? Is this because of money? Was this because of drugs? What was the reason? Police did confirm to us today that these 2 families knew each other. They knew each other well, and they shared that one toddler that you just talked about. Those members of the family were laid to rest in the following months. In June of last year, Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine and Pike County Sheriff Charlie Reeder, both of which you heard from today, asked the public for information on the Wagner family. They never had any other suspects in mind. They were then relocated to Alaska. They were recently, as August of 2018, 2 properties in Scioto County. They were searched. And in September, we also received the preliminary autopsy results, a decision that went against the wishes of the Pike County Coroner's Office and the prosecutors. Also, DeWine told us today, Robin, this I thought was very interesting. You talk about 2.5 years and what goes into 2.5 years of investigations, 1,100 tips, 550 interviews, more than 200 subpoenas, and the search warrants and court orders testing more than 700 items of evidence. They traveled to 10 different states, including Alaska, where the family members were at one point. So how do you prosecute such a massive case involving so many victims and suspects? That's the big question here, Rob. And they said very carefully, that's the answer. And they said, I thought this really was poignant, Rob, when they said that the Wagners knew everything about the Rhodens. They knew where they slept. They studied their routines. They were diligent. They were careful. But what stuck out with me the most is they said, not careful enough.
They did leave some evidence behind, which took 2.5 years, but it finally led to who prosecutors think did this. And you had a really a question for the Attorney General. You said, how much do you believe that they did this? He goes, I absolutely believe that these are the people responsible. Tricia Mackey reporting live in Pike County. Tricia, thank you very much.